LUSD one and the Nope one went pretty fast under their peg as well. So I don't know what your opinions are on those.
You mean the ceiling price, right? Not the peg?
Yeah, correct. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, ceiling price for no bull. That one basically launched at ceiling price and held it pretty good. Actually, it might have launched over ceiling price. Hard to say. But yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely launched over. It got bought up. Um and then it kind of crashed down and now it's found its ceiling price for sure and it's been holding it pretty tight. There's definitely been more volatility and thus more opportunity over on the S bull side. That's the way I
yeah,
see it, at least.
yeah, correct. I was thinking of LPing them, but I'm just not too familiar with the Nope token, and I'm pretty sticky to the coins I hold. I am mainly in LPs, mostly to stack up the coins themselves and get a bigger position over time to be able to protect the perma-GIF price, the ratio versus GIF over time. I'm trying to push it up as well against GIF. So I'm pretty sticky on GIF and PGIF themselves. So it's gonna be hard to get me in any other one. Maybe the Solid X one could be one for me that is very interesting, especially if the Solid Hex whale is behind it. I don't know what your opinions are on those. I think you're muted.
Bad. New mistake. Uh yeah, Solid X. Solid X, because it's backed by the Fire Whale and its connection with the Solid X index, with Axis and Hexfire, and also Nope token is a part of that index. Sounds like it might be a really good fit, but I think one thing that we've learned is we need to get the attention of either the founders or the top community leaders and get a vibe check with them to see if it's even worth pursuing.
Yep, I agree on that part. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if the Fire Whale supports the perma tokens, I think it's gonna be easier for him to push up the Solid X coin instead of him just buying the Solid X coin like he used to do before. Not sure about that because people can just keep on. He can orbit back up in case it goes under it, but I think people need to educate themselves a lot on the ceiling prices because I've noticed a lot of people buying the perma token and then having a loss on them at the beginning, and then they're dumping it under the ceiling price, which scares off other users. So I think both of these other ones just need time to find their ceiling prices. I mean they need to find their floors and then just push up slowly again against them, like you see with PGIF right now. We've been in a bear market for GIF and PGIF for I think 20 days, and now we're almost back at the one-on-one versus PGIF. So
Yeah, agreed. Welcome everybody in. If anybody wants to jump in, add commentary, ask questions, please feel free to do so at any time. One thing I'll repeat that I did mention earlier was that you know, now that we've got those two protocols out, I was just kind of asking Elite, it was just him and I in here, just asking him how he felt the Noble and S Bull launches went, and just curious if any of you guys have any questions or any comments on it.
Hello, I'm happy to speak. So, firstly, happy to be here. Thanks for a very interesting project. Happy to to be part of it and see where it goes. I love the concept. So, regarding the two protocols or additional protocols, I think that's great. There were already kind of rumors, weren't they, going around? So glad they came to fruition. I thought the launch was good. Well, I went to bed and woke up the following morning and they'd launched. So I'm in the UK, so that was fine. I think what Crypto Elite was just saying there is, yeah, there's a new token, people rush buy in, then there's a massive sell off, and then people start to panic because they think, well, why the hell is this S bull that should be twice PL USD? Why is it only about 1.2 PL USD? But really, it's just an opportunity to buy that, then, isn't it? So no other comments from me. Just really happy to see where this goes, and congratulations on what you've done so far.
Thank you, HackZG. I appreciate that.
I was having a bit of a well, I won't call it a debate because I'm not clever enough to debate with what's his name? Sorry, I forgot his name's escaped me. But I was asking about the buy and burn, and I was kind of well put in my place that actually the buy and burn is kind of an extra for this whole protocol and not the whole USP. I'm in another thing called Up and Up X. I don't know if you've heard of it, with Haunted, and the sort of the buy and burn there really is the USP, and I perhaps had misunderstood, shall I say, how important I thought the buy and burn was with GIF and PGIF.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. The different mechanics that we're using can very well kind of, as soon as you learn one or you have background information of one mechanic from another system, we kind of have the tendency to just kind of repeat the same thought process on the new mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the point is that it's not important. I think the point more is that it's not reliant upon it. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
probably the biggest point. It's all getting deposited into a smart contract, right? Not a wallet, but a smart contract that all it can do is buy and burn. Now, as it's currently set, our stance on the buy and burn, and this is from experience, it's best as a community, including founders or developers, that there should be no expectations from the buy and burn,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no scenario where there's a buy and burn that is being implemented in any token in any community where everyone agrees it's being run perfectly. So essentially, it will always cause conflict around it. Now, eventually, it would be cool to do some more innovation in making the buy and burn not only user callable, but perhaps make the frequency and amounts untrackable. Stuff like that to prevent people from, say, front running buy and burns would be
Yeah.
super cool. We're so early in development on everything we're building. We're just not there yet. But I definitely hope to see something like that in the future.
I mean, I totally agree with you. And the other protocol that I won't mention, that's exactly what they do. It is kind of predictable-ish when there's going to be a buy and burn. So what they do is they randomize it. So it could be at any point over sort of the following week. But yeah, I appreciate that. Can I ask a question though, just to clarify that the total number of tokens of GIF plus PGIF is 1 billion, and that's the maximum. Is the deflationary element of that, is the buy and burn the only thing that makes it deflationary? Is that correct?
Yes.
Right.
So
Okay, that's fine. That's all I needed to clarify. Good. Then nothing else from me. I'll let somebody else speak. But yeah, just delighted to be here. Thank you.
great. Thanks for the great questions. Appreciate you. And sorry you tend to wake up the next morning with things done based on where you live. I think we've got a few other guys around here that's over in your neck of the woods that often unfortunately miss out on things, or they spend a lot of nights not sleeping. Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've spent far too long trying to catch launches of things and realizing actually it's often not the best time to do anything immediately after launch. So happy to see how things have progressed for a few hours before I wake up and have a couple of coffees and then try and decide if I'm going to do anything. So yeah, no problem at all about that.
Those are sage words right there. That is great advice that everybody should listen to.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you very much.
You bet. Anybody else want to jump up and ask a question?
I would like to ask you, Giff, what do you think the impact is gonna be regarding the dynamic fee of these new protocols?
Well, that's the experiment I am most fascinated with right now. I alluded to innovating in a new way on Max's stream that I was on last. And this is essentially what I was talking about, is making a protocol fee be essentially not a flat ratio, but something that scales with what I would consider to be demand. So if the core token is down in price via the PLS pricing, then that would actually increase or that would also bring down the protocol fee going into creating the new token. But the biggest thing is catching the momentum on the upswings. So if the core token is catching a lot of momentum and getting minted up, how do we reflect that during the creation process of the new token, where one token just doesn't run away from the other? Like, for example, right now, the gift token ran up so hard, so unexpectedly, that the 10 PLS fee to mint PGIF is now pretty negligible, right? So, how do we counteract that? And it'll be really interesting to see how this kind of plays out in the future. I'm more interested to see what you guys think. How do you guys think this will play a factor or not? Does anybody think it won't play any factor?
Um, I think I think if we go in a bull market, it's going to push up PGIF and GIF way more, because as these tokens become way more valuable, let's just say some of them 100x, the fees now 100x more as well. So in theory, they should feed PGIF 100x more. So I think it's gonna have effect for sure. Not just for PGIF either, this, for their own tokens as well, actually.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I agree. Or at least that's what I'm hoping is going to happen. But we'll see. It's the whole point of the experiment is we don't really know how this is going to play out. And conversations with founders, I let them know, like, hey, we're going to be doing something that has been done before, and with that comes risk. Like, we don't know that these smart contracts are going to work the way they're designed. We can go through and we can do all the internal audits that we could possibly run. We could reach out and get some external audits done by individuals that we know are the best at their craft, but we really don't even know how well it's going to work or if it's going to work at all until we launch. So I've been very pleasantly surprised and really happy about how these smart contracts are currently working. Everything has been working flawlessly so far. The only thing that we've been adjusting a little bit is on the front end, the buffer, right? We added a little bit of a buffer to the protocol fee to minimize any failed transactions that may occur during the minting process if there's a price swing of the core asset, right? We started at 10%, and as of I believe last night, we brought it down to 5%. So we're gonna keep playing with that a little bit, see how that plays out. But yeah, so far, extremely happy. I hope everybody else, including the communities that we're bringing into the fold, I I hope that they're happy because that matters the most to me.
Cool. And since I missed the call, how long? Because I've heard talks about it, but how long is the buffer gonna stay? Because I heard it was gonna be for short periods, but I didn't really get updated on that part.
I mean, we're basically going to be taking a look at it every 24 hours. So every 24 hours, we're going to look at it and we're going to see if we could tweak it a little bit more. We'd like to get the buffer down to as minimal as possible so that the DApp is reflecting the values as accurately as possible. That's the goal. So every 24 hours or so, we're gonna, reassess that buffer.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, let's we could go ahead and move on to the second part, and just kind of see if we can get some more chatter. The second part of why I wanted to open up this chat is to see where the community feels like we would be most accepted going forward. Like what community, which tokens, which founders do you guys think would be most receptive? Because I would like to run another poll again, because the last poll brought us to the LUSD community. And those guys have been killing it in terms of on-chain data of going and minting SBull, providing liquidity. The Nope guys are doing a fantastic job too. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't expecting a lot from the LUSD guys just because of the fact that there was no like head founder who was coming forward and saying, hey, we're bought in. We wanna do this. We'll put down some commitments on how we're going to interact with your protocol and things like that. So I was pleasantly surprised with the oh, that's cool. The response we got from the LUSD community. So any thoughts on where should we move next? And I will call it Fast Abdul if you would like to chime in on that one.
Oh, hey, Gifford. Yeah, I got a couple ideas. So as you can see in my diagram, equipped with moving lines and realistic fire, that the 2Fux/Fux ecosystem has multiple ARB points that would interact very well with the concept of the Giffordwear contract, because you could push the price up on certain tokens, which would result in an arbitration point outside the Giffordware contract, which just sort of further reinforces the system. And since many of these tokens interact with each other as well, you can kind of get like cascading ARB points. With the diagram I have here of a potential of up to 8 ARB points from having these tokens work together. And since 2Fux is built on top of Fux, which is a fork of Balancer with up to 8 tokens that can be in one LP pair, there's opportunity to pair both the Gifford Tech tokens along with the counterparts that they're burning in multiple LP configurations.
I love that. Quick question, and this is probably just more of a side question, but I'll ask anyways. I heard that creating a 5 token liquidity pool was superior over the 8. Is there any truth to that?
It's it depends on exactly what you're doing. So like when you look at like these novel liquidity pairs that have like 8 tokens in them, they need to be there for a reason. So like it's not, and it's, you have control of which tokens go in the pool with a maximum of 8, as well as the percentages for each token, right? So you have to look at it with the plan of like the pool actually being useful in that tokens can flow in and out of it. So like the tokens in the pool can't be 8 meme coins paired together that don't have any outside liquidity. If you had 8 tokens that were not Pulse, let's say, then each of those tokens should probably have a corresponding pool that was paired just 50-50 with Pulse or something like that. So that inside the Fux exchange, which is a standalone DEX, they can move freely. So it there has to be some planning that goes into it, but it's not necessarily true that 5 is better than 8 or 3 is better than 4. It's very situational.
Nice. Thanks for answering that. Yeah, that makes good sense. So if I piece this together correctly, the 2FUX token would be the optimal token to burn. Is that what I'm getting from this?
Well, actually, the 2FUX token is here. I'll just run through it quick, if you don't mind. I don't want to take over your call though. If you want to move on to other things.
No, this is for potential partners to work with, so this is completely relevant.
Okay, so I have I just drew this up quickly to show you guys, so that it's not made for public consumption. So I didn't label anything. This is the Prime 2FUX token here, the P on the left, and it is the one that is made by one Prime 2FUX always costs one Prime FUX, which means that that's a natural arbitrage point. Anytime the price of Prime 2FUX goes over the price of Prime FUX, which is represented by this pink one here, there's a natural arbitrage that can be done within the system. So that's one of the arbitrage points, is between the Prime 2FUX and the Prime FUX. But then Prime FUX itself is actually an LP token that's made of 80% FUX and 20% Pulse. So there actually becomes an arbitration point too between the price of FUX and the price of Prime 2FUX, should they should they not correlate properly. So you could have an additional burn option just attached to that token that would also correspond to work. And with that in mind, you could also have a burn option attached to the FUX token, which is the reward/utility token of the FUX exchange, that would further make for additional arbitrage opportunities between the price of FUX to Prime FUX and the price of Prime FUX to Prime 2FUX. So all those things are innately connected. And then the 2FUX token, which is actually the only one that is not directly connected, like it's not made of the other tokens. Like FUX is a component of Prime FUX, and it is a component of Prime 2FUX. Like literally, it's inside the tokens. That's not true with 2FUX. That's the effectively the DAO voting token for the 2FUX protocol, which is a fork of Convex. However, since 2FUX is the main yield token, or along with FUX, of people who stake their LP or do other actions on the 2FUX front end, making a burn that attaches to that further increases the value of the 2FUX token that people are getting in yield, makes everything work better, because people, by having a pair like this, though it doesn't have to be this, there's many ways to do it, in the 2FUX protocol where people can stake that LP to get yield, it gives them an option. Rather than taking that arbitrage, they would instead pair these burn tokens in LP pairs so that they could farm it, leaving the arbitrage on the table for the next user who wanted to take the arbitrage. So everybody gets less diluted because there's more ways to make money with the Gifford Tech tokens. And furthermore, in the bottom here, I have the GIF with PGIF paired together, where you could have a pair with multiple tokens, but where people would have that same opportunity to not take arbitrage with the GIF and PGIF tokens, because instead they were yield farming, leaving that arbitrage for other people, making the whole system less diluted and more interesting. So, and then furthermore, our protocol has an option to include a potential third token for yield for people who provide liquidity, which if your ecosystem were to produce a third token that were to be disseminated via LP farming, you could further incentivize people to farm something like a Giffordwear LP pair.
Okay, perfect. So I'm checking out the code currently, and this is the aura.sol, right? Is the forked code?
Or yeah, you bet. We forked Aura Finance, which is pretty much a fork of Vex.
Okay, so from what I'm seeing here, and this is something we ran into with the LUSD fork actually as well, is that the token is not actually deletable or burnable within the function. So my first guess would be it would probably not be a great idea to send a governance token to the debt address, as it's basically holding up voting ability, or I think there's some sort of yield that might be involved too. Is that right?
Actually, yeah, I see your point. But in this case, it's because, and you'll probably find this with some other protocols too, because all the voting power or yield is just directed to the people who do, in the case of the 2FUX token, it's called locking. The ones who lock it are getting the yield, and they're getting the voting power associated with the DAO functions, essentially. And the people who don't lock, either because they're providing LP or doing something else with the token, they're just giving up that yield and those rights. So it's not like it's lost to the dead address, which would be the case with some tokens. In this case, it'd just be like, it'd be the same as if it was burnt. There's no actual loss as far as it not being accessible. For the yield just gets redirected to different people. The votes just get redirected to different people. The only one I'd have a concern with what I've put on the table here is actually this Prime Fux token, in that that's the only one of these tokens that's actually an LP token. So if you did this one, you would be burning an LP token, meaning that LP token, the LP is permanently locked in the Fux protocol in this case.
Perfect. Yep, that answers my question. Okay, so then the 2FUX token, we could actually just send that to the dead address. Now my next question is about the Fux token itself. Is that that's kind of the spear token of the whole ecosystem, is it not?
It's the yield / utility token of the Fux exchange specifically. So in that way, yes. But the same rules apply in that it has a yield boosting property as well as a voting property that's attached to it being locked. But it's again, it gets delegated to the people who lock, and if some's not locked and was sent to a dead address, nothing bad happens. Just other people get that yield, and other people get those votes.
It appears I can burn that one.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, that's a it essentially is importing in the ERC20 burnable contract from Open Zeppelin. And
Okay.
that makes it so we can actually destroy that token if we did build on top of that, which is really what I want to do this in one of my next launches. Is I want to actually make it so that we're destroying both tokens that we're interacting with.
Yeah, I think like that looks good on paper, like as far as the token disappearing from the tokenomics, etc. But I think we have to remember that like we're in the top 2%, and there's not very many people that would actually examine that statistic going forward. So if you accomplish the same thing with the burn address, if there is no, or not the dead address, if there is no burn option to completely disintegrate it, very few users would even comment.
Well, we are, the last launch that we did, I did push myself considerably by launching 2 protocols on the same day.
Yeah. Impressive.
I'm curious, how do you think it would play out if we had chosen to, 1, destroy the Fux token, and 2, send the 2FUX token to the dead address, and we launched those 2 protocols in the same day? What ramifications could you possibly see coming from that?
Well, my proposal here is actually that you could have up to 4 contracts launched in the same day. That would all focus together. I think the thing would be that by having these things that interact together with multiple arbitrage points outside the Gifford tech, you could literally get like cascading arbitrage, right? Be like, okay, so somebody burns the Fux token, and then it's off kilter with the Prime Fux, and then there's an arbitrage there, which makes there be an arbitrage with the Prime 2 Fux token, which is made using 1 Prime Fux token all the time, every day. So, and then people are have an alternate option to stake all these burn tokens paired with their counterparts on the 2FUX front end to get yield in more 2FUX tokens, which is being burnt by the protocol, and more Fux tokens that are being burnt by the protocol. So you end up with like people not taking that arbitrage to get the yield instead. It's just like there'd be so much on the table that if you did them all at once rather than one at a time, it'd just be like this bang, right? Like there'd be so many arbitrages. There'd be like people, obviously there'd be some like higher end users that would get more of it than other people, but everybody who's just involved with the ecosystem be like, oh, the price of this token went up, the price of this token went up, the price of this token went up. The yield farming would be drawing so much attention on top of the other things that you could make it into a really like a crazy press event, right? Which is sort of more my domain of expertise than the dev work, obviously. But there's definitely opportunity to make something where the arbitration points are very interesting, which is what I really liked about the iBurn contract, because it enabled me to to do that ICOSA Hexarb for the first time. And it feels like since the PulseChain launched, basically, right? I did that 3 or 4 times that day, on one of the days or 2 of the days. And then it subsided. I think with something like this, where we have multiple arbitrage points, we could keep that roller coaster moving for longer. And then because of the power of the Fux DEX and the 2Fux Aura fork, there'd be additional options through things like our bribe protocol, or just incentivize yield farming with additional tokens to jumpstart it if it stops at a certain point, right? Which is I see as one of the issues with the current Gifford tech software, is that you can get sort of like a lull where it doesn't happen for a while. But if you have outside more levers, right, that are not necessarily connected to the Giffordwear protocol, you can maybe kickstart it again, and it can have new life for an extended period of time.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Let me ask you some more broader based questions. How do you suppose your community, because I know you have a community now, how would the 2Fux community basically perceive gift tech being placed on their tokens? And then as a side question, how do you think the Fux community, and in particular, I don't know if you have a fairly good relationship with Buck, but how do you think they would respond as well?
I think the just generally speaking, when you say the 2Fux community and the Fux community, they're now pretty much one community, and it will grow more to be that in the next couple days for sure, as people move all their LP from Fux over to 2Fux, which is really in a lot of ways just a different front end for Fux that pays people more. So we're going to see that migration. But as far as our relationship with the PH team, which is a separate team, like it's good. Like we have, we're whitelisted inside the Fux protocol to make it more secure and easier for our users and things like that. So, we definitely have conversations. And as far as integrating with Gifford Tech is, that's a discussion that we would have to have with them. The main issue would be to get these pools gauged, just meaning they're eligible to be incentivized. And that's 100% up to the PH team and not the 2Fux team. However, when we bring something to them that makes sense, that these are businessmen and they will tend to do the thing that makes sense. So like the pools that I've proposed here, where we had one pool that had, Fux tokens, and we're going to burn these Fux tokens, like, and pair them together. This is going to generate a lot of fees. This is going to be good for the PH community in general. And then another pool like the one with the gift tokens here, like there's no reason that wouldn't be a great pool to have on the Fux exchange, and that it wouldn't do fantastic volume and incentivize people to provide LP, which, as an exchange, that's what they want. They want people to provide LP, and they want it to be good LP, like not meme coins paired against meme coins that don't have any traffic. Things like this make sense and would have substantial fees for the exchange, which gets, of course, trickled down to the users and to the holders of the 2Fux token, and through that, the holders of the Prime 2Fux and 2Fux tokens. So I think it'd be an overall win, and it wouldn't be a tough conversation considering the financial energy that we'd be putting behind it. Like, just to put in perspective, like 2Fux, less than a week into full launch here, has almost $1 million in liquidity on the Fux exchange. So, to add to that with something like this, I can't see it being sad.
That's awesome. Well, this has definitely earned a spot on the poll. That's for sure.
Thank you.
There's a lot here I'm going to unpack. Obviously off stream, off mic. I'm going to do a little more deep diving and see kind of exactly how the mechanics would play out on the back end. But I really like what I'm hearing.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for your time, and yeah, reach out to me if you want to go through this stuff. Like I said, I didn't make this for public consumption. This is literally like more my thought tool that I can add some notes to this, or I'm sure you'll just be able to pick it up very quickly. But yeah, I'm available for comment.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again. I appreciate you.
Anytime.
All right. So that, two Fucks community, them coming together as one community. And, if we can get their attention and if they're interested in having gift tech built on them, it's just a matter of us working out some of the fine details and specifically within the contracts and see how we would want to deploy this. There could be a real opportunity there. I think that's fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and pivot and let's talk about any other opportunities. Anybody here on the chat, if there's another community, if there's another token that every time you see us launching on these other protocols, you're thinking, why don't we go to this token or to this community? Please bring it up now so we can talk about it.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, what's the disadvantage of not just listing like every token you can think of? Why would you hold back on any certain tokens and not just like launch anything and everything that you want to launch on?
Well, this is more a developer side of things. Each one of these launches have to be hard coded, and we're typically up in the ante on what kind of innovations we're doing, with each new launch. The toll that it puts on just myself being a one man dev team is pretty considerable, and it's not as well.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I know in a lot of places it just kind of feels like I can just hit a big red button and just deploy on all these contracts, but um, it's not the case. And as we deploy, we're trying to experiment, which means we're not deploying for the sake of deployment. We're really deploying to innovate and bring more community members into the fold. And as we've seen with previous launches, is sometimes if the community is not as enthusiastic as we may think they would be or could be, things don't go very well. So it actually does kind of the opposite effect. Instead of bringing people into the fold, we kind of separate ourselves a little bit, which is really unfortunate. That's not what we're trying to do. So we're mostly interested in working with communities and founders, if there is one, who actually want us to come build, and so that we can kind of work together, educating and also making sure that our protocols are doing everything that it needs to do to help drive tokenomics. And with gift tech, the number one tokenomic that we can bring to any community is typically the burning of their token, making their token permanently deflationary, or if it's an inflationary token, to actually help with the supply and at least attempt to balance that out a little bit.
Awesome. Well, obviously I would be interested in burning Helios. So if you want to add that to your thoughts, I would be happy to hear them.
Yeah, well, give me the pitch. Give me the pitch on a couple of things. One, how will it benefit your protocol? How does it benefit your supply? And then two, how do you think we would be received within the Helios community in general?
I think just being part of the Titanx ecosystem, and I think a big part of the Titanx community is already extremely bullish on gift tech. I think it would be an easy um, marketing thing. I'm pretty sure everybody would be on board with that. And like as far as how does it help Helios, I mean that's kind of our whole thing is we are an infinite token, so there is a supply and demand aspect of things. So burning the token adds um, more viability to mining. You know, because the more the token gets burned, the more profitable it is to mine, which is kind of the whole circle aspect that we've got going on, which in the process adds to our treasury of Titan-X, you know, so that we earn more ETH is really what we're going for, is just stacking a massive bag of Titan-X.
Cool. I like that. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with most of the community would be receptive to us. I still have some question marks on a couple of the founders within the Titan-X community, namely towards, more towards the top there. Very concerned about Pulsar in general in the future. I mean, it's coming one way or the other, and by the time we get to launching Pulsar, we're going to have a lot of our best tech built in for sure. That's the whole point of all these experiments. But I've been nervous since the first day we announced that we were going to be building Pulsar, about how these community leaders really think about Pulsar. It seems that they're very determined that if they don't get to tell us how to build, that they will not back us. That if they don't have a finger in it, then they will not support us, and that really concerns me.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of confused on what you need their backing for or how. So, like, you know, for me, like, I was in talks with Jake specifically about things, and you know, and I was concerned about his Genesis wallet, you know, with donations to Dragon X and all that, and like, you know, and I asked him like, what is your? Are we going to be fighting the Genesis wallet? Are you going to be uh, helping out Helios? And his basic response was, "Is any protocol that's here to help Titan-X is here, you know, Genesis will back." And here we are, 100 days in, and I've been completely ghosted by Jake. So, but in hindsight, I'm just now realizing that what do we need him for? Like backing, or he does back us in marketing. He does speak good things about us on Twitter and all that. But like as far as like helping us with anything else, he's done nothing. And we're successful on our own. And I think, regardless of what he thinks, I think Pulsar would be successful as well. I don't see how, aside from Jake specifically saying, "Hey, don't interact with Pulsar; they are a negative." I don't know what he could say or how it could negatively impact you. But like I said, from what I've seen in the Titan-X ecosystem, like pretty much everybody is on board with what you guys are doing. So whether Jake backs or not, I don't think it would be a big issue. But maybe there's more. I know there's more behind the scenes than that, but that's just kind of my thoughts.
That's fair. I appreciate your honest feedback on that. And yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. Well, I think it's safe to say I've followed Helios very closely and I've looked at contracts, and I like what you guys do. I like the way you do it. And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't put Helios on the poll.
You would get my vote.
Nice.
Can I ask a quick question or add a comment?
Yep, go ahead.
Yep. I think I caught the tail end there. It looked like you were talking to the guys from Fox. I mean, if there was anything to go in with that protocol, I would put all my weight into that. I think that would be awesome to explore. But the question that I was curious about is, have you had any conversations with anyone from SolidX, or has this been on the roadmap? Is there any thought put forward to that particular token?
Good question. Me personally, no, but I do have business partners, right? That you guys are all aware of, who may or may not have been speaking with Fire Whale and in general speaking, right? I think one cool part about bringing the Nope community into the fold. And and I hate to say bringing them into the fold, because it's kind of like, did they bring us into the fold or did we bring them into the fold? Because it's such a good mutual relationship there. As we know, Nope is part of the SolidX what do you call it, group of tickers there. I forget the actual term that they put in there. Index, thank you. That was escaping me. So they're part of the index, so I'm sure we have their attention. And I've seen some good comments coming out from Axis. I've seen good comments coming out behind the scenes with some other guys. So I hope that they reach out and are interested, for sure. And if there's any top community members in this chat right now, I would love to hear from you guys on how you think we could partner up, just like we're doing with all the other communities that we've reached out to so far.
I'm not completely sure, but I feel like I saw something that SolidX is working with DragonX with Eric's team of some sort. So there might be some cross collaboration between the TitanX ecosystem and what SolidX is doing. Again, I don't, might help. I think there's a big community of TitanX. Obviously, you guys have got Pulsar going, so yeah, I think that would. I think they would be happy to have you.
So Solid Hex is working on a game right now that's going to incentivize. It's gonna be good for the token. Let's just put it that way. That's a separate project that's underway. He's definitely building, and I'm just such a huge fan of all the great work at GiftTech here that I think that seems like a natural fit. But you're right. You're in good company with Kinetics and everyone there. I'm sure they're all in contact. But I would just love to see that partnership. So I'll just wait and see. Thank you.
I've actually spoken once with the Firewheel, and he seemed to be very interested into the protocol.
Well, like Giff is saying, it's not necessarily him, but it's also the community that he's looking for backing on, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's multifaceted, right? It's like we're either all in or we're not, or we're just not ready yet. So there's so many connections here. Fast of Duel just popped up, the two fucks index right there, that they have direct connection, right, with all those guys. And just the fact that Fast of Duel's here saying, hey, there's real opportunity for GiftTech to get involved. I see no reason why we shouldn't be putting SolidX just on the poll, just in general, just to kind of get a vibe check on that as well.
With that idea, I would suggest also putting the Axis token and the Fire token on the list, and because that's sort of the complete index, so to speak. And they're all in a large liquidity pool. It's like $900,000 with 2 fucks on the Fucks exchange.
Good point. Will do.
Hi guys, I'd like
2 fucks
to
would be
see.
awesome. Go ahead.
I'd like to see that as sort of that whatever the next group is, the 2 fucks one is an amazing idea, that we concentrate on whoever wants to go onto the next group, that they concentrate on the perma token more so than just doing the burn. So if there's like a game that's built on, say if SolidX are going to build a game, the fees from that game go into the buying up the second token, so then we can create the ARB loop instead of just creating which group can we do next? We burn a load, but then we don't create the ARB again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that first part where you're attempting to feed the arbitrage, right? Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and feeding the arbitrage is incentivized by just the actual playing of said, game that they may or may not come up with.
Yeah, if we can have like a revenue stream that's sort of almost like a flow of water, that water is coming in and doing that bit, and then obviously other people just comes in and burns the token, and then we can create that loop again and keep it going. Almost like putting it near a dam.
I've heard, so Kool-Aid was saying something today. He didn't give too much away, but he kind of pointed towards something in the Pulsar white paper that the perma tokens will have like an extra incentive. There's like another reason to hold it other than just to hold it. I don't know how much you can give away about that, Giff.
I suppose the only thing I can really speak to on what he was pointing out, and I don't want to misrepresent the point he was trying to get at, because he's got a very unique way of getting to his points, and as he says, I'm one of the few guys who can speak his language, but I'll do my best. And really what he's trying to say is that if we do decide to somehow stimulate the whole ecosystem, we wouldn't do it on the what I would consider to be the native tokens, as in Giffordwear, the token itself would be included on that. It would be more on all the perma tokens or bull tokens or all the derivative tokens that we create, because as we do that, as we drive value into those tokens, then that also speaks to what the gentleman was just talking about, is, you know, you feed value into the perma tokens, you then benefit the native tokens indirectly by inspiring more burning, right? Via the arbitrage. So I think that's what he's pointing to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think he sent a screenshot. Kool-Aid's here, so hopefully it can just come up, of some kind of revenue share, perhaps. I'm not sure what it is, but for the people who do the burning and hold the perma assets.
I think the Sandlord summoned me in my head because my brain itched and I looked at Telegram and saw that things were live.
I sent you an invite, Kool-Aid.
You do realize that everything is muted, sir. The only person that actually has their own specific ringtone that makes my phone ring-a-ling is the Giff himself. Yeah, what are we talking about, guys? I'm not even at my desk. I'll be right there in a second.
The screenshot you sent from the Pulsar white paper, I think it was the white paper earlier, and you were saying like maybe this is a way or a reason or an incentive to hold the perma token or burn for it in the future.
So
kind of like,
yeah, let me just give you a cross section of that. Just a call I had with my lead game designer at work. When you are sussing out something, you kind of have to think 30 steps ahead, whether the game mechanics are in place, whether the game design is going to change, and how you preemptively think about how these things will come together long before they're actually in place. And when people are thinking about the ARB tokens as only an ARB token, I personally find that ludicrous, because I can see a whole bunch of examples that the GIF can make to make perma tokens incredibly valuable stages down the road. When you build something in a game, like I'm talking about the conversation I just had with my boss, you kind of have to think 30 steps ahead. And so referencing what a perma token can do, because of the economic energy used to create creation, not inflation, and using the power of no leaky boat, gives perma tokens so much incredible power later on down the road when you're like your character's level 10, or all the rest of the systems and the gears and the infrastructure that we're looking to develop. Now, the GIF always tells me to get back on the pony. We're not there yet. No big deal. But my job in my real day job career is to think 30 steps ahead of the entire motion of the machine, so that way things are curated when we when we get there, and no one's like driving with no one at the wheel. So when people are asking why you should just ARB, that's why I use the term, it's a feature, not a pillar. You can do it. But the 10x leveled character of what you can do with the perma token, when we suss out each simulation, not speculation. Each throughput, each iteration of each part of the puzzle that we're building, there's so much more that those perma tokens can be, or that they can unlock, or the permutations they can have, if that helps. That's my thought. But nothing's set out in stone till the gift does so. But that's why, me as a game designer, that's how I think. And so when people just think of strictly looking at just an ARB ceiling, that's one avenue to use that functioned model. It doesn't mean that's the only avenue that people think. And people saying they get kind of hung up on that. But the one thing you can't get hung up on is that perma tokens are created by deleting the supply to the dead address. Perma tokens literally have their supply removed from existence. That's fascinating, and that's just a use case I think about when I'm crafting how I respond or what I'd like to propose to the Sandworm Lord himself when he's deciding to strike on a particular permutation of design, if that makes sense, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's like, I think the thing is normal people, they see it, and whenever it's below ARB ceiling, they don't think 30 steps ahead. They're not like, oh, well, this is going to have an increasing like buy pressure on it over time, in basically forever. So they don't want to give up the, the underlying asset for an asset that will be more valuable in the future. They can't, like, I mean, Crypto Coffee was, I mean, he's asked like 3 or 4 times now, and he's still kind of like got that trepidation about what's going on, why is it like this, so I think it like worries people. But also I think when it's in full motion and the ARB is constantly like 10 PLS plus or just 10 PLS break even, that's when the real like price appreciation happens. People are burning. It's fun to burn as well, but we can't do it right now,
Oh no, 100. And like literally, even people in game dev don't do the level architecture job that I do. And like my job is literally a very, very, very specialized, unique job, which is why I'm custom fit for the particular role. And why most people, even in my industry, get hung up, and they're bloody game devs. This is their job to actually speak my language in this particular area of effect. But even they get a little hung up on that architecture, on how the flow will happen 16 revolutions down the line. So it doesn't surprise me that people in crypto land are very confused by it, because game devs aren't even battle hardened to specifically do what my role is. But that is my role, is to at least bring these permutations or structures to light and build for them, so that way when we get to that 3rd, 4th, 5th flywheel of how that works, that has been sussed out and thought, and someone's, at least bringing those situations to life. It's kind of like how the gift makes sure that everything doesn't come from an attack point of view, right? From the programmer's point of view, how does something make sure the system is protected? My role at my regular day job is to do that before the system gets there, and to think of how those tools will interact, work, and have couplings, if you will.
Yeah, just what you can kind of say at the moment is like, trust the plan, and people are like, they're not happy with hearing that, but it's kind of all I can say.
Well, what's the best way to change the phrasing on that? Because the outcome isn't going to change. It's the phrasing. But
yeah, right, that's all it is.
Right. Well, I mean, let's take about it as a different way. Driving through New York City isn't really a problem at 3 a.m. You get shot, but there's not traffic. But when people built that, they didn't think about having semi trucks and millions of people in that area. Same thing in Austin. It's horrible to fucking drive in, because they built the road structure well before it dolloped onto itself and grew exponentially too fast. That driving to downtown Austin sucks. It's really bad. In Colorado, where I'm from, they built these crazy little tollways that went way around And then I go back to Colorado, and now it's filled. So building that roadway before you get there and before it gets clustered and clogged up is kind of important. But the phrasing is what people aren't getting, because they just want the quick 1-2 punch of the arbitrage side, because that's simple. Make profit, click out a job for the day, easy. But yeah, it's really phrasing on how do we educate more than something that has economic creation is more beautiful than something on the other side, because actually the creation, not inflation, and the no leaky boat is so much more powerful than arbitrage. That's why I try to like separate the feature from the pillar. But I don't think people understand that. I mean, look at the PLUSD, almost 1% of their supply is already in the debt address. How fucking cool is that? But then everyone's just like, when dev, press buy and burn button. I'm like, well, you really don't want to delete the perma assets that fast. We haven't even gotten to that fun part of the level of the game yet. But I think people are just like confused in between the two. But if you have better ways to describe it, I mean, I'm always open to chit chat, right? That's why conversation and sanity checks and all the rest of it is super important.
Just say it's like a permanent nibble, and the nibbling gets bigger and bigger into bites, and then eventually it's just chewing through like a huge wall of existing perma tokens. But I guess right now, maybe the thing, it's super cool that we have this dynamic protocol fee for the next iterations of things. But right now, maybe like the move is not to burn your GIF, even like at a loss, if you want to really stimulate the system. If you like have a lot, and I know a lot of people like to do benevolent actions, like maybe the thing to do is to swap from GIF into PGIF and push up the ratio of PGIF, and that way that, like, you know, people can start burning again, even yourself, if it's just a portion of your bag.
Sure. Sure. I mean, like I saw last night when somebody cheated that 20% dip. I think it was actually a liquidity pool while I was trying to work when all the rest of it happening. But there seemed to be someone that bought that up pretty excessively and then minted that just to hang out with their perma tokens. And then I happened to notice that someone else happened to do that as well while that other particular individual was doing it. I think those benevolent people that just take advantage of the system, and then when those things need to be done, and then create to a perma asset, very wise play if you're thinking chess, not checkers. But again, it's not what everyone else wants to just hear for the treat me like I'm 5 type example. The arbitrage is at least an easily understandable tactic to how to play a game or how to, you know, win Street Fighter. Just press punch really fast, right? They're not even thinking about multi-threaded combos.
Yeah, that seller's almost out. He started selling some again, and he has 400,000 GIF left, and then he's out.
Anyone know
200,000.
what happened with that last night? Like, again, I just don't have the time for chain analysis.
Yeah,
especially.
it's
I
the
was
same
asleep.
guy. He has 200k left now, so he just sold another 200k. His final clip of 200k left, and then he's out.
Well, it ain't me. I don't have 200k clips. I mean, but I want to, so let's keep it going, guys.
I think the cooler thing is just like watching how the system reacted and went back up to par norm pretty efficiently. And that's, sorry, there's trucks driving by right now. That's really, 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 really dope. As a lion's share in a whole, to watch the system reflexively work, recover. I haven't even opened up anything today. I was up late getting stuff done, and then had a meeting with boss, and I've got another call I've got to take in an hour. But yeah, no. Anyone else? Please talk ahead. Like I said, my brain was itching, and I looked at Telegram.
No, it's a good point. Like, I mean, you think about, you know, when we're at 1200 PLS, and you take a 100 PLS dump or a 200 PLS dump, and then we usually go right back through it and eat it right back up. You know, if this is a meme coin community, you know, half your Jeters get kicked in on that 150 PLS dump, and it goes all the way back down to 200 PLS. But anytime someone Jeets in this, you have enough people that know what's going on in the system that we usually eat it right back up pretty damn fast. That it's awesome. And it tells you that the education level of this community is a lot higher than the meme community.
Well, it's that other added mechanic of if you do eat that back up and then you turn it into a perma token, that supply is gone. They literally just got leveled out of the game. That's fascinating as a game designer. That's fascinating. Because that's just going to cascade further and further as the community grows, as each one teaches one, and someone else comes and teaches their friend, be like, look, if this happens and you have that random opportunity at 4 a.m. to grab that 20% dip, and you take that underlying asset, whether you're talking about PLUSD or NOPE or iBurn or any of the other things, and you immediately convert them into a perma token, you not just helped the system, you leveled up the playing field for everyone else that's on the team. You got someone that just did a power spike in volleyball and sent that ball directly back into the opposition when somebody jeets, because jeets are always going to happen. But the question is, like, how does your team set the ball, spike the ball, and shove it back into the opposition's court? It's actually fascinating as someone that does this on the side of building, you know, a game for 4 years that a player doesn't even know what they're doing, but they experience that and they're like, oh, cool. The game's actually really challenging, fun, or it's in my favor to do these kind of things. And then they get excited because it's part of them now. And that's the real interesting thing about the idiom, that if you use the tools correctly, everybody's a founder in gift tech. That's so bloody cool, because using the tools correctly is like a sports team having a good quarterback, having and I don't do sports, I'm horrible at this, so but like, yeah, I'm even worse at this than math. But like that's how you have like your running backs and your tackle people and your frontmen and all the rest of that stuff to actually set the game up for it to be fluid and those dynamic moves to get someone that they can do a giant, 300-meter run and make a touchdown or some bullshit. Like, that's fascinating.
Agreed. I want to go back just a quick second. I like the idea of two fucks because it's such a connected system, and you have so many things that you can line one up, and once that works, once that one gets deployed, you line the next one up. Like, I like the idea of it would be a natural fit to do two fucks, and then fairly immediately afterwards, you could easily do Solid X. I mean, assuming that that's what they want to be actually a part of it. But I like the idea of hitting a connected series of tokens where they're all sort of connected, whereas you grab one community, that just steamrolls you in through that system, and then we pick up the whole community as its own. So I just kind of like that idea.
And it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Not only that, what you're doing is you're getting the educational model through those communities and using their own tools with them, for them, with the ideals that the GIF has set out, with the way that he cuts the fat, each strike according to measure. Like, that's actually very, very, very smart teamwork, right? There's no I in team. But technically it's hiding under the A. I think it's where the old joke is. But yeah, no, I think that's a great point and a great idea to move forward on how we do the simulation, not speculation, in real time. I'm hopping back inside, so I'll be at a real mic here in 2 seconds.
Hey, Giff, so along those lines, and I guess a question similar to that is, are there systems you're not interested in going after? Like, like just as an example, like teddy bears in the Atropa system. So is the Atropa system something we don't want to approach, or would that be something worth it? just as an idea, because I like then that it's the same with the 2 fucks. You hit something like Teddy Bear, then you just steamroll through the whole Atropa system, assuming everybody's on board. So just kind of get curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'll answer it the way I answered it on Max's stream that one day when he asked if there was any tokens that I wouldn't be interested building on, and the only one I could come up with was like a stable coin that is actually redeemable for real world value. Because if you're burning that or if you're sending that to the debt address, then essentially all you're doing is enriching the foundation, because they know that that could never be redeemed back in their treasuries. So that's really the only circumstance. I want to experiment on all these other kind of tokens in general, just so I can, especially like, yeah, the reflection tokens, that would be an interesting dynamic. I think the 404s would be very interesting as well, and getting some involvement from the NFT communities. That would be super sweet. I don't really see any particular token or community as like off the table. I think they're all on the table. It's just a matter of adoption. Do they understand what we're doing? Do they want us to build? Do they want to come into the fold, like in like kind of merge communities like we have been merging? That's all that really matters.
I have 2 questions, Giff. So, how dead set? Like, if you were to do hex, are you still set on doing like a thing where you try and bring them to parity, or do you think that you would want to do them separately, like a separate individual tailored system for like ehex and then one for phex?
That one, Hex in general is a very sophisticated and important token ecosystem. It's essentially one of the daddies that I want to eventually get to for sure. Now, before I would even move to build on it, we would need we'd essentially need the a vast majority of the Hexkin community to be embracing us. And right now, I don't think we're even close. So, like, it would be preemptive to do anything in the near future. We would also want to see, if Alex does come out with a V2 icosahedron, that would play a big part. We'd need to see what kind of mechanics are being built around that ecosystem. And then we would also need to see how the OA wallets end up treating, well, not even OA, but sacrifice wallets of the Hex ecosystem and PulseChain, how they decide they want to deal with the eHex token itself. Like, are we going to assume that, since I haven't seen any real evidence of those wallet holders purchasing eHex, and that being basically the only token that it hasn't, there are still addresses I'm watching just in case, but if they decide that that token no longer has value, well, then there
Right.
wouldn't be any need to provide parity. Although the other side of me wants to say there are lots of Hexkins who still believe in eHex, and I don't think they're wrong in believing in it. And it would be cool to build on a token that gets them excited too. Like, is that a way that we can bring in both sides of the Hex community, the P-Hex maximalists and the E-Hex, let's call it sympathizers? If we bring them together, that's what I'm all about. That's what I'm here to do. So that might be an option too. But for right now, the big tokens like Hex, PulseX, those guys are on the horizon, and we are always eyeballing those guys because we want to build on those. But we got to build our way up to that
I
level.
totally agree with you with the they need to be ready before you want to move into that big step. Like, they're the grand finale, in my opinion. The last thing I wanted to ask you about, you said you would experiment with everything. You accept a stable coin. Would you ever use a stable coin as the protocol fee for like maybe a collective basket of assets down the road, instead of Pulse, maybe as like a bear protection experiment? Or would it always be proof of Pulse?
It's not off the table, but there are some technical difficulties on the back end when you're coding around this. And one is it gets a little confusing when you're, because essentially you're bringing in 2 tokens to create the new token. When we have a PLS protocol fee, because it's the native token on chain, it reacts a lot differently. You'll notice when you go to mint, it combines the Pulse protocol fee along with the gas into one transaction, and it makes everything very cost effective. When you start bringing in multiple tokens, that can cause some more issues. It's not off the table, but it's kind of like one thing I tell our team when we have these discussions is tell me where the benefit is. Let's not find a problem and search for a solution. Like, show me where the problem is, and then let's talk about the solution. So we don't want to like walk into these scenarios backwards. We want to be walking forwards.
Yeah. I guess
So
I'm not
about-
looking for a problem. I'm just kind of thinking like it would be a way that you would feel less of the effects of a downturn in Pulse like in the future. I mean, I feel like we can't downturn any more in Pulse, so it's not a problem anytime soon or even anything to think about. It's just curious.
That's a great okay, so now you're pointing towards a very interesting fact is that so far in crypto, we've always seen these cycles in momentum, right? We see these 4-year cycles where call it the mass inflation of currencies worldwide, or just call it it's all connected to the Bitcoin halving that just happens to be around the same cycle time frame. Like who knows what it is, but if we're going to look at past performance and assume that we're going to see another 3-year bear market over and over and over again, well, now maybe there is some thought that we need to put into implementing stable coins during a bear cycle.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's cool.
So I've got 9 minutes to my next meeting for day job. One thing that I think that the gift that said it was really important that people aren't picking up on is if let's just say EHEX, for example, and people with the ICOSA move and all the rest of that stuff, if it isn't embraced, let's just say in a perfect world, I happen to build a metaverse, I could throw that on EHEX, right? And I could have that token actually come and have a different wrapper on top of that. Because when you're thinking in stages, components, and this is what I love about the GIF, is that he thinks just like me on the other end of how I would suss something out in game dev. When a system is built correctly, those components, just like the GIF was just saying with stables during a bear market, that's an interesting time to play those particular cards of poker versus trying to jump all at once at one time. When the system isn't supported, the time hasn't been put in to suss out the mechanics, and it doesn't have a reflection of what market conditions has done to those particular mechanics in real time, that the data points haven't been glommed together. But I do have to jump off here in 6 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know how like even interested I am in the parity or EHEX thing anymore. I'm not sure why, and maybe it's the ICOSA thing. It's just kind of it's that thing where if people aren't really that interested in it, then it's just kind of like a dead weight to something that could really push the one that they do care about up. But yeah, like I don't know.
I take those things into consideration too. Does anyone really want to start off in a video game as a mage when you get pwned by a deer? Or do you really want to start off as a healer when the dude with the sword is just so much more cooler in the beginning? But later on down in the game, 10 levels, 30 levels, the mage is calling down meteors from the sky. And if you don't have a healer, your ass is grass. So tackling those things later when the appropriate time is why you need to have a well-organized group or groupings of mechanics, players that use the system, and at the end of the day, a narrative line that is homogenistic to what the market conditions are, what the community education level is, and all the rest of that together.
That's right. And thank you for all the visuals, Fast Abdul. It's fantastic.
God,
Please don't leave.
Are we
Hang in
paying
there.
bribes right now? Are we paying bribes? What's up, Fast? Hello, everybody.
So yeah, good questions. Let's keep the chatter going around, where should we be looking next? Like what communities, what tokens? If anything else is popped into anybody's heads and they want to have a discussion on, please bring it forward.
Like I said before, I like the idea of adding the Atropa and the 2 fucks to the poll for sure.
Always give 2 fucks about everything.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. So because there's an ecosystem there, and the ones that come to my mind off the top of my head are, I see it as Atropa is the ecosystem, in that PDI is a part of that and Teddy Bear is a part of that. Is there any other token within that ecosystem that I'm not aware of? And along with that, which token would be best to build upon?
I believe there's 3 or 4. The 2 that I'm familiar with, though, are the same: the PDI, the Teddy Bear. I do believe there is an actual Atropa coin. I could be wrong on that. Yeah, then that's a good question. Is it PDI or is it then Teddy Bear?
The 2 main ones are Atropa and PDI. Atropa feeds the PDI one and creates big pools with them. I think there's like $40 or $50 million in that pool at the moment. It's one of the largest pools. So PDI and Atropa are the two main coins. I think they're also the largest communities.
So Teddy Bear is just like the small side meme of the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Teddy Bear is the meme of the Atropa system, but I think it lost its steam a little bit because the Atropa dev sold down Bear pretty hard to save EHEX and make liquidity with it. So I'm not sure how that one is doing, but I'm not really looking anymore at Bear. I'm mostly looking at Atropa and PDI.
Well, I think out of the 2, then obviously PDI is definitely the most followed. So does that mean that we can get the PDI community on board with this? And I guess that's an issue because there's not necessarily a founder with PDI, and I wouldn't even say is there a general leader of PDI. You just have to approach a group of sort of influencers that support PDI.
I'd say PDI is one of those ones where it's almost like LUSD. I think you could do a lot more community driven things.
I think it is possible to get in contact with the lead person. I think there's like a private, like a locked-in chat, an IRC chat that you can get in if you talk with some of the bigger peeps in the system. I'm not sure. I haven't seen him talk about it before. I know he's going to the PulseChain conference in Amsterdam soon. Yeah, I think we need to look around for that and perhaps ask him himself in one of the IRC chats.
So maybe we need to actually develop that communication line a little bit first before we maybe think about that. PDI to 1,000, that's hilarious.
PDI and Atropa are the same people, so that's yeah, you're talking about the same people, and you talk about the Maria guy who's going to be in Amsterdam, etc., etc.
So, yeah, my bad. I didn't realize he was actually so they're behind the PDI itself.
No, they're helping PDI get back, but they're not behind PDI. Atropa is basically some kind of arbing system, I think, and there's arb bots that run through it that basically in some way suck away the LP, and they move the LP to PDAI and Atropa, and to get the LP so high that basically the PDAI is backed 1-to-1 in an LP pool, not by a bank, but just 1-to-1 backed via an LP pool. But Atropa feeds PDAI, so the whole goal is to get PDAI up, basically. Yeah, and if you push PDAI up, I think the RBots are also going to start working on Atropa and PDAI themselves.
Yeah,
There's
the
no
charts
reason
show-
PDAI can go to 1,000. It's it has no peg whatsoever, so it could go to 0, it could go to 1,000, it could go to 1,000,000. Which do you think is most likely?
And looking at the charts, the DAI and the Atropa, the charts move very, very similar to each other. Basically, their movements are very well attached in LP at the very least, if not more mechanics built in there. So that's really interesting. One part about it is, like I've said, I wanted to work on a reflection tool. I'm pretty sure Atropa works on reflections as well. So that would be interesting. I wonder if it's more impactful to work on a system that is not near its all-time highs, like say something more along the lines of the Graves community. I'm pretty familiar with that community in general, and especially their tokens and how all that uses. And I know that they're going through a little bit of a bear market on their token at the moment. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I like PTGC as well. They're also heavily bonded to the Atropa ecosystem. They support that system as well, so I think that's a good one as well. They have like 6,000 holders or 7,000 holders now, so it's as big as I think Icosa on Pulse itself.
And the point you made that they're in a little bit of a bear market, I mean, not to say you want to pick people that need you, but, to your other point, why would Atropa need us if they're at their all-time highs? That's a good point, actually. I hadn't even considered that.
Well, I think hype feeds the burns as well, I think.
Yeah,
it just,
it's also about
Yeah, but it was to his
community.
point, though. It was to his point, though, that, PTGC needs some help. So, I mean, just in that sense, I mean, I wasn't saying let's not do PDAI.
I think it's both great. I think the main metric that excites me is the holders. Like that he was saying, they have 7. Like this is big, important thing for us. It's like,
yeah, PTGC is just heavily bonded to Pulse, so it moves very hard in the direction as Pulse does.
Does that mean then that gift tech won't be as effective?
No, I'm not saying that. It just means that charts of PTGC looks like that because Pulse has been going down a
Well,
lot.
PTGC has actually been outperforming
Yeah.
PLS.
Yeah, I know.
If you
I
look
know
at the
for
weekly
sure,
chart,
for sure.
PTGC against Pulses, yeah.
Yeah, I know that they're
Iceman, can you repeat that? I didn't hear what you were saying there. It kind of got blurred in.
I was just saying, if you look at the weekly chart against Pulse, PTGC has been outperforming Pulse pretty well since inception, since launch.
Yeah, correct. It has done very well, but I think the bigger it gets, the stronger it's getting correlated to Pulse. It will move harder than Pulse as well once it goes up for sure. But yeah, it moved very well. I think I don't know how many X's it did, but it's one of the best performers I think in the whole ecosystem.
So what do we think? Do we think PTGC is a good idea?
They also have no inflation.
Yeah, I think so.
And they have also
Yeah, I
pretty
think it's a
decent
good
burning.
idea.
So they burn pretty decent as well.
Guys should be thinking of things that have arbitrage points because you add additional outside metrics to keeping the flywheel spinning. So like, does PTGC have an arb point anywhere inside the protocol where if one thing goes high enough, you'll be able to do an arbitrage outside the Gifford tech? So we have that with Icosa. I showed the examples with 2Fucks, but there's probably other protocols that have arb points. I just don't have them off the top of my head, but surely they exist.
I mean, that's the whole thing with PTGC is it's an arbitrage token. Like that's what they sell is all their liquidity pools promotes arbitrage, and that's what burns their token.
Example?
I'm talking about PTGC.
Right, but example of an arbitrage, like what can you arbitrage
Like,
inside their system?
I mean, between two LPs, if you've got PTGC paired with Pulse, and then you've got it paired with GIF and GIF moons, well, the GIF PTGC pair goes up in value, so bots will buy the PTGC on the cheaper LP, which would be Pulse, and then selling it on the GIF LP, and then they can sell their GIF back to Pulse with profits. And in the process of doing that, they're paying the transaction tax that PTGC has. It's like 5%. And that's where they get their value. They're extracting value from arbitrage. Just the more LPs you have, the more arbitrage opportunities you have. And I believe they've got several LPs.
It's not quite the same as a regular arbitrage, but it's not terrible. The best arbitrages are like where you can turn one token into another token, and the second token has a higher value, which is kind of the concept of what Giffordwear is built on. So if there's another token that has that same function, right, and you could encourage that function with Giffordwear, then there's more wins for everybody. There's like more ways to arbitrage, leaving more arbitrage on the table for the next guy and not diluting the pool, so to speak.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but like, isn't all of the gift tech tokens, they're creating a new token, and so like
exactly. So that's a perfect example. So find another example where something is creating a new token that you could then pump into the Giffordwear protocol, and that becomes an excellent candidate for providing additional value. Like ICOSA, for one, was super strong, right? Because there's an arb point where if the price of ICOSA goes high enough, then you can basically sell hex stakes into the contract to get ICOSA, to then buy more hex to make more stakes to sell into the contract. So that's like an outside arbitrage point that's not just going to be taken up by bots, right?
yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. I've got the same deal with Helios with Giannis. It's an arbitrage token that has the same effect where like if the price of Giannis is high enough, then it's worth burning your Helios for Giannis. So maybe is that kind of what you're saying? Like you would
exactly
use
that. Yeah, you're onto it. That's the win, right? Because if you can make that happen, then there's going to be more things moving. It's not just you're burning your community token for the gift burn version, and that's more going to be more prone to slowing down. But it's like you burn your community token to a certain point where it can then be arbitraged against something else, right? So that people are going to be doing that, and then you have either multiple communities or multiple arbitrage points where people can win, and it just keeps the flywheel spinning and spinning and spinning. So, and the more you could tie together, the cooler it would be.
How do you tie in? So, like in this example, Helios and Giannis already exist. Like how do you tie in? If GIF comes in and burns Giannis for a new token, now there's a third token in the mix. Like, how does that look? Like, I see what you're saying, but like what you're talking about is with existing tokens. Am I wrong?
Well, it just depends on the setup. I'd have to research the exact tokenomics you're talking about. So with so what are the two tokens in question again?
I'm talking about my token specifically, Helios and Giannis.
Okay, and then where's the arbitrage between Helios and Giannis? How does it happen?
If Giannis is trading higher than Helios, then there's the arbitrage. It's fairly simple. Giannis it gets its own value through arbitrage. Helios has its own value through other aspects with the mining and staking and all that stuff.
Okay,
So they're
well,
two
that's a great
separate.
example then. So Giannis is your target. So you put the gift tech on Giannis to increase its value so it can be arbitraged against Helios, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And then there's the third. So then that you're burning Giannis for creating a new token that GIF comes out with, right? And they're creating their buy and burn pool with that by burning Giannis and paying whatever fee.
That's right. And so then you pump up the price of Giannis, and at a certain point, you'll be able to arbitrage Giannis against Helios, right?
Yes, yes. So then, like, if the price of Helios falls, then they are minting Giannis, or if the price of Giannis falls, yeah, yeah, I do like
Is it
that.
a two-way arbitrage, or is it just Giannis to Helios, not the other way around?
It's one way Helios to Giannis.
Okay, perfect. Then that's the one you want to do. Is just you just be burning Giannis to make to make the whole ecosystem move. You know, create more action, create more LP fees, all the stuff. So furthermore, you might add an additional form of income with yield farming and stuff like that, which would also give people an alternative to not do the arbitrage, leaving on the table for somebody else. But yeah, definitely that Giannis token's your target, man.
Cool. Yeah, I can.
I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say we can discuss it further, like if Gif's interested in the ideas.
I'll think on that. Go ahead with your question though.
Oh, you talking to him or me?
You go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, I was just gonna say, in terms of the PDI community, Nine Iron Capital or Hodonomics would be the guys to talk to. They kind of run the community because Mariah, the 414, is only in the internet relay chat. She doesn't do her Twitter or Telegram, to my knowledge. I was talking about it with a couple of guys, and they were saying basically, and this is a good point, Teddy Bear might be the most logical to burn because Mariah has too much supply of it anyway, and it has no known function that the community kind of focuses on. So they were kind of thinking, Teddy Bear might be the way to go. Although Holdonomics is actually making a bot that burns PDI, but I know a lot of those guys probably don't want to give up too much of their PDI in the first place, though. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Yeah, thanks.
Good input. Good input. And the only thing I would tack on to that is that our community, the way we see things is that we're all founders in this, and we're all deciding kind of as a group to which communities would be the most receptive, which would be the best ones to build on, and also like how to do it, right? We're receptive to all of this stuff. We want to learn and know our blind spots wherever possible. So that being said, reach out to those guys. Reach out, there's people in this community that know the Atropa ecosystem very well, that are in the teddy bear chats. Start flowing it around. See what the response if the response is insta block, then they're probably not interested, right? But it's something you could throw around. You could say, hey, you could come join this chat.
Private
You could reach
chats with
out to
these
this guy.
guys, and I'm
Go ahead.
gonna ask them to join your chat. Actually, I'm in a couple of chats with these guys. I'm gonna ask them to join the Gifford chat. Actually, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's always best if they know what the gift tech is, what we're trying to accomplish, what we're building towards, and so that they can come from at least a somewhat educated position before they're put on the spot of, are you okay with this? Will you support this? Right. So maybe they just need to be made aware of us, and that just gets the ball rolling. And maybe that's all it requires.
My thoughts
Yeah,
on
exactly.
integrating a token at all-time highs, like that seems like that would be a good plan because if you think the token is going to fall in price, wouldn't that in itself create lots of arbitrage opportunities to be minting it for this new token? as opposed to like something that's rising in value, and your mint token's got to keep up with that with the buy and burn or what other metrics. Like if you've got a token that's already at all-time highs and it's starting to sink, then every day it sinks, that's adding more value to, or to incentivize people to mint the permabull token.
The dude pays attention. The dude pays very good attention. There's nothing wrong with what you just said. Absolutely nothing. I find that to be a very interesting experiment too, because at the same time, you have to assume that when you get a community buy-in, and when you're really lucky and you get a founder and a community buy-in, you have to assume that they're going to mint a certain amount of that new token on day one and then bond the two in liquidity. So when they're bonded, even though there will still be a wrapped PLS pair with the new perma token, um, they're still bonded. A majority of the LP will be, so they will move in lockstep, generally speaking. And then there's some outside factors, I would call it, where you get more selling than buying, or more buying than selling, and then that could adjust, in real time. But from what you're saying, in a black box, right, in a vacuum, that should theoretically create arbitrage points, which drives up the burning of the core token, which is removing supply, which should demand remain the same or increase, should allow the chart to bounce, right? I think that's basically what you're getting at.
Yes, sir.
Love it. Well, I'm putting them on the list. So, and this is another great thing we can do is, as we put all these guys, all these ecosystems, all these tokens on a list for a poll on what the community thinks we should build on. We saw this happen with LUSD when we put the poll up and we said, comment, on any other token. We started to see a lot of those community members come over, and they were very interested. It's like, okay, what are you guys building? Let's take a look. And then they start learning, and then they start voting, and now they're involved. They're now technically in our ecosystem. They are part of our community now. And so that's why we want to do polls like this to show that, hey, we're looking at you guys in our community. It's pinned at the top of our chat. So come on over, take a gander around, ask some questions, and get feel us out. All right, we've got a few more minutes, and then I'm going to wrap it up so that this recording isn't super long. So if there's any other token you guys want to talk about, or if you want to talk more about our past launches, all of it is open. I assume we got about 13 more minutes would be our max.
I suggest the internet money tokens, as well as the Tetra token, could be eligible. 2 out of 3 of the internet money tokens, anyway.
Tetra is interesting to me.
Yeah, because you could, in the future, when they have their Stratus front end available, you could actually automate your burning strategies, which is a cool concept. And they now have a limit order deck set up. So as far as your what you do with your burn tokens, of course, this could apply to all the other burn tokens in the ecosystem. But for your arbitrage, you could set limit orders. That would be generally useful and tie in well with the Tetra token, as well as any of the other ones, I guess.
I didn't even think about Tetra, even though it's obviously come up a lot in our chats. I think Tetra would be interesting, and I know that Kool-Aid, he speaks with those guys on a regular basis. So I'm definitely going to add that, unless anybody here thinks that would be a bad fit.
I am literally in another meeting talking. I think I saw Neil in the chat as well. When Stu gives me the MVP and we're ready to go on that, obviously the gift will know immediately about that, and that's going to be very, very interesting. But the one thing you can't do is suss out what will happen in reality if it's not done. I cannot wait for that to be real. That's all I can say. So, but I think that if when, and at what time all of those things are presented, I'm happy as a bloody clam. So that's all I can say to that.
I don't see a downside with the Tetra token in that my understanding, and maybe Neil can go deeper, but I think if you burned it, it wouldn't hurt the ecosystem in terms of the fees, etc. It would just be redirected to the people who are staking, and the burned tokens would, wouldn't take any money with them to the debt address.
That's
That is
100% correct. Yep. And I even sussed out way back when that, and again, Neil can talk to this, it's obviously the mouthpiece for that ecosystem, that if multiple Tetra holders decided to glom their Tetra, because they basically get the stable fees from that entire thing into one master contract, they would work as one contract because their system works based on contract glomming or combining together anyways. So yeah, go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, there's pooling options available, with people and large holders if they chose to use those mechanics for their own benefit or benefit of the community. So I know being having a pool on 2Fucks as well is beneficial because it's been very difficult for the holders because nobody really wants to give up the Tetra tokens because they're a yield generating token. But the more you have in liquidity, the more yield the stakers get proportionally. And so if you could burn it, that's a way to increase the profitability for the staking class, those who don't want to get rid of it. It also pushes the price too, as a result. So it's just one of those. It's one of the few tokens out there that would just have be like a money printer, literally just fee based. So I mean, it's just one of those things. I think as it matures and we come up with these different ideas and the larger players see the value and people utilize the tools, I think you see Tetra token itself be a very valuable token just in the ecosystem, just because by default it'll just do what it does.
Not to
My
mention,
only question is
it is burnable too. So I just
that
double checked. You can destroy it.
That exactly was the one thing I was about to say. Like, is it actually destroyable? Because I know that's exactly what the GIF was going to ask, and he already is there, as he usually is.
Let me think. I don't top of my head. I don't know if
Oh,
it.
no, I
I
was
have to do that.
sorry. I was just stating that that's a fact. You can destroy it. I was just checking out the contract.
Okay, well then you can. Then it's fine. Yeah, but it only has one purpose, so it's just a token that gets staked. So there's no other mechanisms or future designs. It was just only had to have one purpose when it was created. So that's one of the few tokens like that out there in the ecosystem.
Yeah, the
Well, then-
benefit of what GIF is basically saying with the fact that it can be destroyed means that sending it to the debt address won't send any of that stablecoin yield to the debt address. So the fact that Stu preemptively made it destroyable is a triple win in the correct direction.
Yeah, well, it was always to be only to get, it was never a liquid staking token. You had to go into the staking contract to receive the fees. So the contract itself would be distributing the fees to the stakers in that contract. So it was never to be like a liquid staking option.
Ah. But actually making it destroyable is even better, because what I've loved about what we've done on the beginning side of sending things to the debt address makes it trackable on the burnable side. And again, sorry, I'm literally in a meeting with this earbud in my head, muted on my other meeting. But like what would be interesting from a mechanics and game dev point of view is to watch something that earns you stable coin yield by staking it, by physically removing the token, that has a market cap that will reflect that deletion. Because what's cool about Go Pulse is doing is you can see how much is burned. If the token gets deleted, and again, Gift will tell me if I'm wrong, because I usually am about most things, The market cap will switch if you just remove a native asset. So there won't be a burnable query because there's nothing to query that's in the debt address or something like that.
It depends on what you're looking at to get the market cap. I've noticed some sites will automatically cut out a burn address as far as it won't include the burn address in calculating the market cap, and then other sites do use the burn address. So it just depends on who you're talking to.
The most important one is probably just the charting sites, right? Like Deck Screener, for example. They're always going to include the burn tokens, like in the dead address, the 369 address. They're not going to go through on each chain and like actually fork those out. So that's the one place that comes to my mind where it would be interesting, or to see if it would be something that the community would actually appreciate, is to actually see the tokens get deleted. And then on top of that, you know, if you're just looking at the block explorer too, as these tokens get deleted, you should theoretically see your percentage of the total token holder go up as a holder. I mean, so that might be interesting as well.
Yeah, I really like that idea. And by the way, what's going on, dude? It's been a long time to talk. Always good to see you, my friend.
Yeah. I've just finished watching your stream with Blaze.
I love those
I can
guys.
see you're very busy. You're a very busy man.
I'm literally in 2 meetings right now, and I'm about to take a very, 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 very important phone call. So I'm running to the gas station to get my smokes before this said phone call. But great to see you, brother.
Likewise.
We got KG in the chat. KG, can we burn the time token?
First of all, I joined the chat to see a ridiculous photo of myself. Lol. Second of all, yeah, you can you can burn the time token.
You know what you can't burn? The call. You need to give me your phone number so we can get some dinner, my friend. Give me a call sometime. I'll love
Bro,
KG.
check your DMs, bro. I already hit you up before you even asked.
You're a gentleman and a scholar. Let's get a bite here soon. I'm up by the domain. But huge, very important phone call. So I will be back, guys, when I'm listening till I get on that call.
Good luck, brother.
KG Gafar Ellis here, man. Always love to see you around, brother.
Gafar, legend. Good to see you, man. Like, what is, bro? Jesus.
What the?
I just have a stock of these handy. You know, you never know when it might come up.
What
Well,
the
I
heck?
know one of these days I'll have the time to actually do Fast Abdul memes and turn him into a human stock puppet. Remember, when he does these random things, make sure you remind me. He will get his day because they kill you.
I regret ever trying to be professional with that photo.
I think it's fantastic. You look great, KG.
Thanks, Gifford. Okay, see that one, I'll take the Bob Ross. That one's fine. That one's
Oh,
fine.
that's actually pretty good. So I worked with a guy that no, you don't realize. I worked with a guy at Arcane that was Robert Ross the Seventh. So he's literally
Wow.
Bob Ross the Seventh.
Wow.
Facts.
Try to get me a job, Kool-Aid, with my art skills.
I mean, that's actually not bad. Technically, your neck is wrong, and you're teething on the. And actually, now I'm looking at it on my phone. It's horrible. Your neck is like twice as long as a giraffe, and you need to get the little flaps around the neck right.
Yeah.
Don't make me bring up the old Richard Hart one. This. Oh God, what the fuck is this? Maybe bang your mom. Generous God. I've got his neck on a. What is it? The guy from 300, the evil version. But yes, next, if you're going to make sure the next word I used to fucking save around a Brazology forever. Be a dumb Photoshop, but at least make the neck work. Anyway, I'm off.
I just wanted to remind you to stop the recording once you end.
Yeah, I got you. We'll go ahead and wrap it up here. This is probably a good time to stop. But this being said, anybody who's listening who wants to contribute more, wants to talk more about all this stuff, I'm gonna be, hosting these voice chats more consistently as we go into our next round. I'm already on the back end. I am playing with some new tokenomics, trying to do something new, as well, as that is always the goal. But while I'm working on that, I want to hear from you guys about, what communities we should be looking towards, how to build, and we'll get this poll up here soon on what we did today, and then we can always adjust it as time goes on as well.
Okay, I want to say this to you, Gifford. I listened to the entire chat just to hear that update, so thank you very much. This was like Apple does it. One more thing, thank you for sharing that. The voice chats are very good to have because it helps to give it a different perspective when you hear of the information sometimes rather than just reading it to make a lot more sense of it. So thank you for that.
You're very
Oh my
welcome. It's great to
Bro.
see you in here too. And one of these days, if I had more time, I'd get you to sing some Bob Marley for us, like you did for me.
Hey,
back
listen.
in the day.
I can do that for you anytime, brother. You know that.
I
Anytime.
love it.
anytime.
All righty. Well, thanks for everybody for jumping on, man. It's great to see you all in here and solid support. And hope to see you in here again soon. Take care, everybody.
All right, man. Fast up, though. You got to stop this. I'm trying to hold the laugh.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.